This is the Hello World podcast, where we talk about habits of success, habits of excellence, entrepreneurship, leadership, learning and development, and outlook that will help us succeed through life. This is Louis Banta, CEO and Chief Trainer of Learning Just Made Better, or LJMB. For episode number 3, we will talk about entrepreneurship. Our guest is an experienced HR professional who finished an AB psychology degree in De La Salle University. She is currently an HR leader in a global advertising giant, a recognized and multi-awarded brand in marketing communications. She is also teaching and very active in LinkedIn as she posts valuable career advice which gets engagement from hundreds of likers. But for this episode, we will talk about not her HR journey, but her leap of faith, the early steps that she took in putting up her own business despite of this COVID-19 crisis. Our guest for episode 3, Nicole Golloso.
Hi, hello everyone, hello world. Thank you
so
for
much
having me.
Thank you for saying yes to be guest of our Hello World podcast, Nicole.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I know that it's been a very busy week. Yes.
Yes.
You have your primary role is really managing human resources in what I introduced as recognized and respected player in marketing communications. But we're talking to you here because we're following your story. I personally have been seeing your story in LinkedIn, have seen your career advice to LinkedIn community before, and then all of a sudden you started posting brownies. And I remember that you were baking because you had extra time. Then 2 months ago, you launched a business. I will let you introduce the name of that one. With an ad of those yummy, delicious looking brownies. I'm now seeing your post 3 months ago. And then I also caught the 5 lessons that you learned in opening your baking business. So I'd like to start with this. I'm sure it will be an inspirational conversation because a lot of people out there who may have been thinking of jumping to business are afraid. A lot of people who may have lost their jobs may have the talents and capabilities, and this can be the perfect push for all of them. So what were the sequence of events, Nicole, that eventually led you to putting up your business that you are about to introduce?
Yeah, so thank you, Louis, for that introduction. But as mentioned, I am the owner of Yellow Baker Bug, and how it started, it was really unexpected. I have been a frustrated baker. I binge watch baking shows all the time, but I was never the doer when it comes to the kitchen. It's my sister who would normally be baking. More so, I was never the business-minded type in the family. So when COVID started, when we had the lockdown, I had some extra time with me in the early weeks of the lockdown. So for merienda, I would bake or cook random recipes in my kitchen. One of the favorites that my family would always request was the brownies. So I started posting it on Instagram until some friends would ask me, "Are you selling those?" Because it's making me crave. So one night, I think that was a Sunday, I thought that when my friend asked if I was selling it, I said, why not? I mean, it wouldn't be so hard and it wouldn't be a loss for me if I try. So it was an overnight decision. I decided to do it on a Sunday. I did the graphics and the logo Sunday. um, and figured out the name. When Yellow Baker Bug actually is rooted from, I have this travel Instagram account
Mm-hmm.
um, called Yellow Travel Bug
So you're
because I
very
used to
active in
travel.
Instagram as well.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I used to have this like travel blog ish
Okay.
on Instagram because I would travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But and well, yellow is my favorite color. But at the same time, I am a Volkswagen Beetle collector.
Okay.
So I would always have this yellow Beetle, a die-cast Beetle with me all the time wherever I go. So to be consistent on the branding,
Mm-hmm.
from yellow travel bug, it became yellow baker bug.
Okay.
So
Oh, that
yeah, so
explains why. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the reason why that's the name, just so I would have that identity with me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
yeah, so Sunday I thought of it. Monday I made the Instagram account. Tuesday I already had orders,
Mm-hmm.
and since then I would be baking every day. Um, at least in my first month, I was baking what 12, 14 trays of brownies in a day, which is a lot.
Wow. Wow. This was in March or April, Nicole?
This was in April,
April.
towards the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
So the new products came in later on,
Mm-hmm.
in May and June. So the
Okay.
apple pie and the cinnamon rolls came
Mm-hmm.
in afterwards. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it really all started with the brownies recipe.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Take a look at that. Just because of the lockdown, yes, you were inspired to do this. Would you say that if COVID didn't happen and we were all just continuing our daily routines, I'm sure that it's a Monday to Friday, 4 weeks in a month HR role for you, apart from your blogging in your LinkedIn. If not for COVID, would you say you would not have thought of this, of putting up this business?
To be honest, probably not,
Okay.
because prior to it, I didn't even know that I would still have time to do it, because
Mm-hmm.
from Monday to Friday I work in HR, and you would stay in the office what, um 10, 11 hours in a day
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and then on Saturdays I would be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know that I would still have, again, the bandwidth to
Mm-hmm.
still do a business. And again, I
Okay.
was never the business minded type.
Mm-hmm.
I was the buyer, always the
Mm-hmm.
buyer,
Okay.
but never the one into business.
Mm-hmm.
My family has had a family business for years. That's totally outside. I mean, totally different industry, but
Mm-hmm.
I was never into it even.
So your early promotions were in Instagram. You were
It,
promoting in Instagram. Okay.
yeah.
And I also like the branding. You were really thinking. You're really representing the brand of your company. Yes, branding and marketing. Yellow travel bug, the yellow baker bug. I can imagine how many more businesses, Nico, that you can put up no, consistent with this type of branding. You also acted very fast because just somebody wanted to order, and in a few days you made a
Mhm.
decision, you put up a name. Did you have to go through the first you had to go through the business registration name? Not yet?
Actually, not yet
Okay.
when it started, because it was thought that it wouldn't blow up
Mm-hmm.
to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't meant to be
Okay.
like huge a bigger business. Like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was just like a home business. You bake and
Yes.
then people would get it from you. But it I think I was just lucky when I first started it, because
Mm-hmm.
people were probably bored. Everyone, is on Facebook or Instagram browsing through photos, and when they
Mm-hmm.
see food, they would start craving for it because you
Mm-hmm.
can't go out. So the timing was just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
As to when I started. So I was able to get a wider market that's more than my personal network.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
yeah, but when like even supplies and trays, I would have to go during the grocery on my own.
mhm,
I didn't have any background in business, so even my costings, I had to do it manually on Excel.
okay.
People who were venturing into the online business
Mhm.
during those early parts of the
Yes,
lockdown. So
I agree.
it was easy to get supplies from, like, say, for my
Mhm,
boxes and all
mhm,
that during that time.
mhm.
Now it's quite
We had
harder.
a very similar story. It's really the importance of acting fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way that we, in my training company, delivered webinars as early as April 1, when
Mm-hmm.
nobody else was doing that, I have really seen that, well, you did have the thought of putting up a business. You just wanted to spend your free time, extra time, and little did you know that it will really become a big deal, such as this one. 12 to 14 trays of brownies before, or products before.
Yeah.
Has the demand increased or decreased 2-3 months in existence?
Um, I think it only somehow decreased this month.
Mm-hmm.
When the ECQ started, but there are still consistent orders. I would get
Okay.
a lot of reorders, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not that it was in the first 2-3 months of the
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm. Just reflecting on that, it was crisis, really a
Mm-hmm.
big crisis in March and April. But to some people like you, yes, with the God given talent, and you're saying a lot of things like you didn't know how to led to
Another,
another.
yeah.
How many people are now working with you? I assume that to supply the demand and to prepare the orders to ship it.
To be honest, well, I'm the only one baking.
Okay.
But my mom or my cousin would sometimes help me out when
Mm-hmm.
I have so much orders. For one,
Mm-hmm.
it was hard to get a staff during the COVID season,
Yes.
because you don't know if where the virus is coming from
Mm-hmm.
or who's
Mm-hmm.
infected or not. So even until now, I haven't really gotten a staff for
Mm-hmm.
it. So I would really do it mostly on my own.
Okay.
80% of the work, 80-90% of the work I would do,
Mm-hmm.
which that's where the challenge comes in, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Because again, I'm juggling different roles
Yes. Mm-hmm.
while also managing the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we'll get to that, all of this, right? And just to
Sure.
really give hope and inspiration to others who are still working, they want to remain employed, yes, but they put it to good use.
Mhm.
Okay? Wow, you were baking. The recipes also care of you, and the marketing as well, because you post them in
Everything.
Instagram. Only two pairs of hands assisting you. What was easy and what was also tough in the first 3 months of putting up
I
this
think
business?
what was easy for me was to get people to like
Okay.
my product. That was easy because I I am confident that it's good. I
Mm,
have a family filled with critics.
okay.
So even before I take out a product,
Mm,
I know if it's going to be a hit or not.
okay.
That was easy. To me, accepting feedback was also easy on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's good or there, I don't think I've received any bad feedback so far, but things to improve on. It was easy for me to accept those
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's how I can grow my business. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I could make the business better, even my
Okay.
products better.
Okay.
If I would point out things that were tough on my end in starting the business,
Mm-hmm.
one would be sustaining momentum.
Okay.
Again, when I opened the business, it was the perfect time because everyone's at home.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy for them to see you on social media,
Mm-hmm.
but sustaining that kind of momentum was actually hard, like especially now that businesses like big businesses in the malls are starting to open up
Yes.
already.
Mm-hmm.
Getting your consistent traffic even on social media was
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
Also, getting reliable suppliers
Mm-hmm.
was also difficult. I would bake apple pies, and even the quality of the apples that I need,
Yes.
I can't just get it, from anywhere. But at the same time, I have to make sure that my costings are
Mm-hmm.
would still make me profit
Mm-hmm.
somehow. So yeah, that's second. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess the third hard thing is managing keeping up with bulk orders.
Okay.
Since I'm doing everything on my own,
Mm-hmm.
um I guess getting enough time to still sleep and rest
There
was one of the
were
toughest.
a lot of bulk orders, Nicole.
Oh yeah. I would I mean, I said, from baking like 10, 12 trays of brownies
Okay.
in a day, when
Okay.
I launched the apple pie and the cinnamon rolls, I would have to balance orders for all those three.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So managing that was also difficult, but because I have to ensure that the quality of what I'm bringing would
Mm-hmm.
still be good
Mm-hmm. That's how high the demand is for food products, specifically for sweets.
for
I
sweets. Yeah,
personally love apple pies and what's the other one? Cinnamon rolls are really my thing. And
yeah.
the first thing that I will do after this is to make sure that I become a customer of Yellow Baker Bug. Okay?
Thank you.
And you mentioned what was easy is for people to like your product. You were really mentioning about the timing. You did
Mm-hmm.
something at the right time,
Time.
right? When
Yes.
people are in the comfort of their homes and they're just in front of the internet, they might be working from home, so social media's on the side. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to promote. What would people say about your product? Top three things that people will say is good about your brownies, your apple pies, and your cinnamon rolls.
I think one, for the quality, it's very affordable.
Okay.
They would normally compare it to big brands like
Okay.
Starbucks,
Okay.
Purple Oven, and
Okay.
those bakeries, and
Mm.
would say it's better.
Okay.
People,
Those are big names, huh? Starbucks
yeah,
and Purple Oven. Huh?
yeah. So yeah, the standards are quite high. I mean, there's some sort of pressure on my end to sustain
You're
that.
being benchmarked with the benchmarks.
Yeah. Maybe second is that they like that it's not too sweet.
Okay.
People would have preferences in terms of the taste of your products, but
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the way, you have to find the middle ground
Mm-hmm.
for your market. What would
Okay.
be most what would probably be a better preference for
Mm-hmm.
a big bulk or the majority of your market.
Okay.
So I think that's second. And then third, not for the product, but I think the customer service.
Mm-hmm.
I I as much as possible, I make it a point to handle my customers personally,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even with the way I talk to them. On Facebook or on social media, there is an option for you to just send automatic replies.
Yes.
I still do that, but
Mm-hmm.
when the transaction would already go through, like when they're about to order already and all that, I make sure that I take care of my customers. from the time that they order until the time it's delivered to them. So I guess that's very important.
And repeat orders are really less costlier, right?
Yes.
And okay, wow. You mentioned what was easy, and what was tough would be all the others. And you no longer sound to me like an HR person. Of course, we're talking about your experiences putting up your business. You mentioned supplies, right? You mentioned costings. So uh, your entrepreneurship 101, no, happening in the past 3 months. What do you like most in your new hat as business owner?
I think what I like most is having that opportunity to challenge myself more. At the same time, earning extra while also doing something that you also love.
Okay.
Being able to unleash the frustrated baker in me. Now I can actually already say that I'm a baker, unlike before. So I really like that.
Thanks to COVID, right?
Well, yeah, you have to look into the brighter side of things because there's so much negativity these days, and somehow you have to find that silver lining.
Yes, yes. And there are also like lists, I suppose.
Yeah, if not, maybe the least thing that I don't like about it is the uncertainty that comes with it.
Okay.
As a person, I'm a very goal-oriented person, and I'm such a perfectionist. But in business, you'd come to realize also that it wouldn't always be perfect. If it started with a big bang in its first, second months, again, I don't know what will happen in the next few months. And it would give you some sort of anxiety, or it would make you anxious to think about how will this survive. Well, I mean, because I have something that I'm proud of now, but up to when can I sustain it?
Okay.
So I think it's part of the journey, but if there's something that I would point out that I don't like that much, it's that.
Wow. And if it may help you, you're looking about or thinking about sustainability in the first 3 months, you're able to pull it off and have some success. As I mentioned in our chit chat earlier before we started, my company's turning 15 years old next week.
Yeah.
So if it may just provide something, when I started this, I also don't have a long-term business plan. I don't think a true blue entrepreneurs don't have a 5-year or 10-year business plans. And I think what's common between the two of us is that it's a talent, right? Baking talent, and I have a talent in training. Yeah, that's all that we had, and we had the perfect opportunity. With the situation may just be different. So yeah, an unsolicited piece of advice, just like me, not having a business plan, also worrying about the future, and look at the 15 years that we've had. Maybe yellow baker bug, 5, 10 years, 15 years. We don't know. Up to you. All up to you. Sky's the limit. We may have listeners who are in the same position as you were in April. They may have a business idea. Perhaps they've been thinking about this for quite a while, or they have a talent that they want to venture into business but are scared into transitioning. Maybe how do I balance things? They're scared of rejection. Top 2 or top 3 pieces of advice to the want to be an entrepreneur.
For one, you should stop doubting yourself. You have to trust the process. Don't get intimidated by competition. If you have something good, customers will come. I think that's what I'm holding on to. Another is you have to start somewhere and take
Mm-hmm.
a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I've been scared all these years. I would watch Shark Tank all the time and would
Okay.
sometimes wish that I had a business of my
Mm-hmm.
own to run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I never started it until now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think despite the uncertainties, you have to take that risk one
Mm-hmm.
way or another if
Okay.
you really want to open up a business. Because
Okay.
having a good idea is easy,
Okay.
but
Okay.
executing it is quite difficult.
Okay.
So you just have to get into it.
Okay.
Lastly is you have to have a good network.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from friends to family to a professional network. Because for me, it helped one in promoting the business.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't spend that much on say sponsored ads and all that, the word of mouth could be very helpful in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So, valuing your relationships
Mm-hmm.
is are some of the best things that
Okay.
you can actually do
Mm-hmm.
in putting up your business.
Mm-hmm. Listening to the keywords that you're mentioning, really glad to hear a well-rounded view of the business. You mentioned customers. You mentioned being able to focus on what they need and satisfy
Mm-hmm.
what they want. I also heard a lot about quality. You mentioned it
Mm-hmm.
twice, and you also said that you're passionate in doing this. At the same time, you love the challenge that comes with it,
Yeah.
and you started with that challenge, and at the same time, it's also giving additional income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to the working professionals who may want to venture to business, what advice can you give so that they can properly balance the demands of a highly demanding 8 to 5? Although nowadays it's no longer 8 to 5, it may have
Sometimes
lengthened.
long.
It's less longer, or it's in between. It's actually work-life blend operating right
Yeah.
now. So, but how do I balance my role? You are even a leader of human resources. It's a very critical function during this time. And then
Mm-hmm.
here is the business with the growing demand, with customers to satisfy, and it's only the three of you,
Mm-hmm.
your mom and your other relative. How do you balance this?
I think time management is key. You
Mm-hmm.
have to know your priorities.
Okay.
um Sometimes when we get too ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
it's also not that good, right? So while you want your business to work, you have to know your limitations, your
Mm-hmm.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
um if you have to say limit your orders to just certain days, you
Okay.
have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have multiple hats, one, you wouldn't want to be burnt out also.
Okay.
At the same time, you wouldn't want to lose that passion in what you're doing,
Agree.
because
Agree.
it might be good now, right? But if you're already juggling so much and
Mm-hmm.
you're already too tired to do everything that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
you might just lose that positivity that you've had when you initially started it.
Correct. I like it. You said it's you have to time management, priorities. You have to know what you really want. There can now be three types of people. If you would agree, Nicole, there are people who can balance what they have, the work that they have, and then do something on the side. Or those who will really decide to, no, I'll just be a working professional. It's tough pala to be an entrepreneur. Or those who will might, no, might in the near future say, a business is really for me, and eventually leave their existing careers. And
Yeah.
so far for you, it's working. The balance is working.
So far.
Okay.
Yes.
What sacrifices have you so far made
Sleep.
to make it work? Okay. Losing sleep.
It was really that,
Okay.
to be honest. Because I couldn't lose I also have to perform well in the other roles that I have.
Yes. Yes.
So to make sure that happens, like I would normally work what say start 9, 10 a.m. and
Mm-hmm.
then end 7, 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
only bake after I stop, working, at least, the priorities that I have for my HR work,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes during lunchtime. But that when there are so much orders, I would
Mm-hmm.
end what 3, 4 a.m.
Wow.
to
Wow.
to just finish all the baking,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start your day again at 8, between 8 to 10
Mm-hmm.
a.m. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the biggest sacrifice that
Okay.
I had to do. It was getting enough sleep and
Okay.
rest.
How are your weekends?
Well, it's also loaded because I bake every day,
Okay.
and yeah, and again the teaching role.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would do that most
Mm-hmm.
of the whole almost the whole Saturday would take up that
Mm-hmm.
time. So
And and baking is something that really takes time. You can't
mhm,
fast track it. You can't compress the process. That's my layman's understanding, Nicole.
that's true. I even had to even purchase additional equipment
Okay.
just to expedite the baking,
Okay.
because if I would
Okay.
only have one oven, it
Yes.
would take so much time
Yes.
before
Yes.
I finish.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think if there's anything that I sacrifice, it's really that
Mm-hmm.
time to rest. But
Okay.
I've had a work around it, at least in the past couple of weeks. So I think I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting better sleep now.
Okay. It's really just at the start. No, it's really tough when you're starting. And to our listeners who wanted to follow the path of Nicole, please learn from her warnings. Time will really have to be your focus, and time will really be required from you. At the same time, Nicole emphasized that you have to perform in all of your roles should you wish to balance a business on the side and you're a working professional. um, and yes, doing things in between, finding ways on how you can really satisfy the roles that you have. Nicole, you
Mhm.
even teach, right? You said you
Yeah,
teach. You manage the HR function of, I assume, a lot of demands because of the company is a global company.
yeah,
In the time of crisis, lots of HR concerns coming up during this time, and
yeah.
your customers, and you're starting this reputation. Take a look at that, our dear listeners. Nicole balancing all of this. She mentioned time management. She mentioned the desire to be able to, yes, not drop anything and perform in all of these roles. And I like it that the title of your LinkedIn post that I saw 2 months ago is HR manager by day and baker by
Nice.
by night. Not sure whether this is how you really want to do it in the long run, but what really caught my attention here would be the 5 lessons, and you will proceed by saying what I learned after I opened up my baking business 6 weeks ago. You had 5 lessons for the benefit of those who can't access this LinkedIn post. If you can just run through the most important lessons that you'd like to share to our community, what would they be?
Okay, so first lesson that I learned was that I am capable of doing more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said in the LinkedIn post, I thought being an entrepreneur, more so a baker, was always going to be an impossible dream.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought that I would still have the bandwidth to push myself more.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out of that comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
actually made me realize that there's more to me than just what I am now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The second one is that it's okay to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It will be part of the journey for sure. Um, I'm a perfectionist. Again, I don't like making much errors, but
Mm-hmm.
that those errors or those mistakes are essential for you to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It is what makes you better in your craft at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
Third lesson, we have to leverage on our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
What was easy in me putting up a business was that I was good at baking.
Mm-hmm.
I found something that I am actually talented on and use that to make something great. So you have to bank on those strengths for you
Mm-hmm.
to succeed, whether it's in a business
Nicole,
or other
before you
career.
proceed,
Yeah.
you have a talent in baking, but you also said earlier you were a frustrated baker.
Yes, because to be honest, the only pastry or dessert that I've been baking for years was the apple pie.
Okay. Okay.
But I like eating
Mm-hmm.
desserts, but actually baking and making my own
Mm-hmm.
recipes really one of my key strengths in
Okay.
the past. At least
Mm-hmm.
I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Until I discovered that I was good at it during the
Wow.
ECQ. So I stumbled upon it and
Mm-hmm.
I use that. So if you find
Mm-hmm.
something that you're good at, whether
Mm-hmm.
you've been doing it for years or you just started
Mm-hmm.
learning
Mm-hmm.
it now, use that.
Yes.
Kasi sayang
Correct.
libre
Correct.
naman yun. Yung
Okay.
talent mo, di ba? Hindi mo naman kailangan ng masyadong maraming capital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like even when I started my business, there was no actual capital
Mm-hmm.
apart from my savings. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, I didn't know where it was going.
Okay. Okay. So time, effort lang talaga, di ba? Time, effort, and talent, no?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And yeah, so anyway, going back to the 5 lessons, the
Mm-hmm.
fourth was that it's important for you to have an outlet to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Baking was that for me. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, HR work can be a lot during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that I ensured, that I am still sane,
Yes.
to keep the balance in my mental well-being
Mm-hmm.
was for me to bake.
Mm-hmm.
So I use that. You have to have that outlet to still take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I bake, I also stop overthinking.
Okay.
You're in a different zone. You're in a different world.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me a lot. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last, and this is very important, you have to hold on and keep your faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith can do wonders. It doesn't have to be a religious kind of thing,
Okay.
but at least having that that hope that you can be successful at something.
Mm-hmm.
When I started Yellow Baker Bug, I had no concrete business plans.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spur of the moment kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
conceptualized one night and then
Mm-hmm.
launched the day after. But despite the uncertainties, I held on to that faith, and it did me well so far. Just a quick story. Why to me faith is very important. Sometimes there were days in the business where I would have remaining slots, open slots, and who would I sell this to? And I would just like pray silently that
Okay.
I hope someone would get like this much of brownies or like
Okay.
this much trays of apple pies or something like that. And then like maybe an hour or two after, I would get what I asked for exactly, like the exact orders that I asked for.
Wow. Wow.
So again, I mean, it's not magic. Regardless of what you believe in, at least for me, having that sense of hope, I guess yung law of attraction comes into play then. If you think that you'd get it, you'd succeed in it, then that's what will happen. But it's not all flowers, It's
Yes.
not always going to be it's not always going to be
Mm-hmm.
positive all the time, or
Yes.
your sales may not be increasing
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're still putting some good stuff on the table, then
Mm-hmm.
you're still good. Yeah.
Yeah, the last one has a very powerful word in it. That's faith. You started earlier with that by mentioning it's a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, being in business really is a continued challenge of
Yeah.
how faithful you can be to what
Yes.
you've started. 5 lessons, Nicole. I hope that our listeners, our community here in our Hello World podcast will find the courage to make that leap. If it's for you, then the only thing that you may need to do right now is to really, and Nicole also said this earlier, start. You have to start and you have to take that risk. Of course, there's more to putting up a business, and it depends on the kind of business that you want to venture into. Our Nicole and my business is based on our talents and our abilities. So really not much capital there. It will be a different story if you want to go into a labor intensive or a product capital intensive, equipment intensive business. But for service people like us who have something to give, share to the world, and they're willing to pay for it, di ba? Instagram lang, di ba? Ang
Yeah.
ano yan, yummy naman yan. Why can't we buy it? And then, after 3 months, yellow baker bag. I also like the branding there, Nicole. Nicole, how can they reach out to you for orders of your brownies, apple pies, and cinnamon rolls?
So you can reach out to me through my Instagram or Facebook page. That's Yellow Baker Bug. Yellow, YELLOW Baker Bug. The bug is BUG. I would answer you personally, so and give you instructions on how to order.
And deliveries will reach what parts of Metro Manila or even outside of Metro Manila?
I would deliver anywhere in Metro Manila,
Mhm.
but I've also had orders that reached until Cavite, Laguna, and
Okay.
Bulacan.
Okay.
So it's very doable. I have a lot of customers in the south, so
Okay.
you just have to reach out to me.
I'm from the south, so please get ready for orders coming from me. And I have teammates whom I'd also like to have a taste of yellow baker bug. Okay? Nicole, congratulations on the success of Yellow Baker Bug. I really wanted you to be part of our Hello World podcast. I could have, have as a guest somebody who has really started a business and have been in business for quite some time. But I believe your story is powerful because you have just started.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they heard from you the easy parts and the tough parts of being an entrepreneur. I'm sure that a lot of them are just waiting for that push. May
Mm-hmm.
you be, and may the lessons that you shared here today be that push for some other people. You don't have to leave your jobs. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to sacrifice your
Not at
jobs. Yes.
all.
Sabi nga ni Nicole, you can balance it. And congratulations, Nicole, to Yellow Baker Bug. Continue to be that active voice in LinkedIn, giving career advices to our job seekers into the LinkedIn community. And HR is a very tough role in your company. And I'll see you around. Okay?
Yeah.
Continue inspiring the LinkedIn community and the upcoming future entrepreneurs who will be inspired by your story here in Hello World.
Thank you.
So, Nicole, if you can just greet our listeners with our Hello World.
Hello, world.
Thank you so much, my dear guest for today, Nicole Golloso. There you have it to our listeners. Thank you for joining us in episode number 3 of Hello World. This is Louis Banta of LJMB. Thank you for watching my video. To watch more videos like this, click subscribe and hit the bell icon below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up
comment down below and share it to others.